Hello, everybody. I'm here this time. I hope that's okay. I know some of you probably are like, I just would kind of like Jennifer to keep doing this thing because she's so dang good. And isn't she? Isn't she just awesome? Yeah. Well, Michael, good to see you, brother. I love it. I love hearing about your personal progress along the way. Yeah, thank you, brother. And I love your hair, by the way. I just think that bald dudes have a somewhat of a connection. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want to feel that connection, I invite you to at Costco. They sell the fusion razors, and there's 5 razors on one end and one on the back, and you can join us by removing some of that distraction, some of the hair that gets in your way. You don't have to shampoo it. Yesterday I went and got my beard trimmed up, and I asked my I don't know if she's a friend or the hairdresser. I don't know what she is, but I guess she's a beard trimmer. I don't think she went to school for that title, but gives you an idea. Anyway, I was like, do you ever just massage men's heads when you shampoo their hair before they're cut? And she's like, every time. And I said, what about guys that just don't have the hair? Do you ever just like do the same thing and call it like follicle restoration or anything? And she said, no, I've never done it. And I was like, well, I kind of feel like I was robbed a little bit, because when I lost my hair, I lost that benefit. That was one of the things I used to love the most about getting my hair cut, was having that, that massage, that shampoo, nails on my scalp and whatnot. And I lost it. I don't know, Michael, how long's it been since you've had a nice, good shampoo?
A long time. I shaved my head. Yeah, I shaved my head. My mother died of cancer, and before her cancer, she had to shave her head, and she was actually a beautician, and that's what she did for a living. So I shaved my head with her and kept it ever since. So I'm afraid I'll never grow it back, because I don't think there's anything there anyway. So
do you miss the shampoo?
I do miss the shampoo. I do miss it. But my mother would cut my hair for me, and she would massage my head for me.
Yeah.
So I know exactly what you're talking about. I miss it.
Yeah, I'm kind of going through the stages of grief and loss a little bit about that. But anyway, the moral of the story is, and I'm recording this part, I should probably just pause it. Moral of the story is that she did it for $5. I said, what about like just acting like I have hair and maybe shampooing it? And she put some whatever she put on my head and shampooed my head. It was rad. And I was like, okay, let's plan on this every time I get my beard trimmed. And that was cool. Anyway, let's get back focused. Okay, we're 1 minute late. Actually, no, we're not. This is exactly what some of you guys wanted to talk about today. Hi, Nanette. Good to see you. Hey, on a side note, I understand you're going to
John is here. John's here too. He's been here. He just hides.
We've got the big guns in here. John.
Yeah. He just won't sit on camera. He's usually on, but he hides. So
John, I love you. I always thought you were out golfing during these. And
no, sometimes he's working.
I'm just isolating.
Hey, I think I have a book for you. No, it was good to see you. Nanette, I understand that you might be a guest speaker at the Hope and Healing Workshop.
Well, yeah, Lisa asked me. I texted her yesterday and asked her if she's had second thoughts. She said no.
She's waiting on me and my committee to pull together the speaker schedule. Anyway, we could talk offline. I don't want to take everybody's time, but plan on it. You have a lot to offer. Well, so yeah, good morning, everybody. I'm so glad to be back. I'm so grateful for Jennifer Chase. I don't see her on here. I saw her for a second and then she might have jumped off. Let's see. Yeah, I think she may have jumped off. So I'll wait to truly thank her when she comes back. But let's start by inviting the spirit of recovery into this call. If you guys don't mind, I'll go ahead and say it today. Dear God, we take a minute to just pause and turn our thoughts to you, and we invite your spirit of recovery to be in this group, in this call. We're grateful for technology that allows us to come together and connect from all over the country. And we just express gratitude for the blessings that we have, for the gift of life, for our homes, for our food on our tables, for the warmth and the clothes that we wear. And we pray that as we work to find solutions and to overcome our own shortcomings and our own stresses and our own sorrows, that you will help heal us and also give us opportunities to lift those that stand in need of comfort, and to help think about others that are in a worse off position than we are. We ask a blessing upon each and every one of our addicted loved ones in this call, and for all of those that are still suffering with substance use disorder and other mental illnesses and trials. We ask that your angels minister to them and watch over them and help us to choose faith and to feel faith and trust over fear and anxiety. And we just turn our will and our lives over to you at this time, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. All right, you guys. So good to see you. Amaya, pleasure to see you. I am recognizing some new faces. Anne and Dora, right? So good to see you. Connie, Doug, love you guys. Amy, hi. And I see that we've got some callers that have come in, and now that I see that Jennifer Chase's audio has connected, Jen, thank you. Thank you so much. Can we all just like give Jen a round of applause and a thank you for stepping up and helping out over the last few weeks while I have been suffering.
Thank you.
In Hawaii and Colorado on a ski trip. Yeah, Jen, I have heard nothing but positive feedback from the attendees over the last couple of weeks, just how you have trusted and followed the flow and where the call needed to go. So
I accept and receive. Thank you.
yes, I'm going to come back to you, Jen, so be ready. I do want to just explain that. So I packed a lot of my self-care vacation trips into February, and it's been a little wild, but my wife and I are celebrating 10 years of marriage this June, and we decided to book our little getaway early so that we could make sure that it happened, because who knows what this summer will bring. I mean, I'm optimistic, but and then I got the opportunity, for those of you that read Unhooked, you guys will know how important this is to me. But I got invited by Nathan, my birth son, to come and watch him play in his soccer tournament down in St. George, Utah. And he had, 3 or 4 games spread out over the weekend. And it was just so cool to not just watch him play, but like to be on the sidelines afterwards and to be like a part of his emotional ride. Because, when he lost, he was really discouraged. He had some frustrations around his coach. You know how sports goes. And to just kind of be there with him through some of that I don't usually get the opportunity to be a part of. And then in between games, like kicking the ball around together. And I also attended his little brother's soccer games. And so the whole time, Nathan and I got to kick the ball back and forth on the sidelines as we watched his little brother play in the same tournament. And so all weekend I got to connect with him, and what a blessing that was. And my parents live down there, so they also were a part of that, which is just, I don't know another adoption story that's quite like ours. And I don't know if I could have ever dreamed this up, that it would be possible to have these kind of experiences. And I give all credit to God for this gift. As far as the, and then last week I was gone because I was skiing powder in Steamboat, Colorado for my annual brothers trip. And we take all my nephews on this ski trip annually. And it's an opportunity for us as men to pour into our nephews and our young boys so that they can, I guess, get some guidance of life in and around these teenage years, which are super dicey. And the best conversations happen in the hot tub after skiing. That's where we get real, and we learn about what they're struggling with, and it's cool, these one-on-one combos. And so that's what was going on last Thursday. It turns out I injured my knee. I'm a little nervous about it because I'm not sure if I'm going to have surgery. This is the state of the union right now with the Icepack. If you remember in the second chapter of, is it the second chapter? Yeah, I think the second chapter of Unhooked. I wrote so many versions, you guys, I apologize. I don't even know what chapter's which because it's changed so many times before I published. But I blew out my right knee, if you remember, in soccer. And that's what started me down my path of opiate addiction. And so here I am again with the same knee swollen. And I'm happy to report that this morning I am opiate free and have been. But there's some nervousness around I go see the orthopedic surgeon tomorrow. I'll probably have to get an MRI and see what's going on in there. And, there's potential for another surgery. I just went through surgery last month and that was scary. Scary around the opiates, that's really what I'm referring to. But one thing I know is that in recovery, it is absolutely possible to walk through this stuff with protection. Just like I did with my shoulder surgery before my twins were born, just like I did last month with my appendectomy. When you're in the hospital, they pump you full of what could be a deadly outcome for a guy like me. And it's really important to be proactive on my side and to have my support team around me, which is my wife, my sponsor, my tribe in recovery, also my providers. And so having a pain management meeting with the hospital prior to these surgeries is really important. I think I mentioned this last time. I have put in my medical records when they say, do you have any allergies or anything we need to be aware of? I have opiates in my records that I'm allergic to them. And so every single nurse or doctor that treats me asks me that same question. And then they want to know the nature of that allergy. Like, am I going to puff up like a bee sting and not be able to breathe if I have an opiate, or is it? And it gives me the opportunity to be accountable, because sometimes my mind will trick me out of it and say, yeah, I mean, I'm in pain. I could use, a script of 30 Lortabs and go home. And it's a very tricky place in my mind when I'm in a spot by myself with pain. And that's the insanity piece and the mental piece of this disorder. Substance use disorder manifests sometimes in that isolation. And I can literally, or in Jennifer's words, because she was born in England, literally convince myself that opiates are safe. And I can make decisions on my own without including my wife, without including my providers. And so I end up telling on myself before I have surgery, and they come up with a plan so that I'm not walking out of a surgery with bottles of opiates. They treat me within the structure of their care. They manage my pain while I'm there. I'm usually extending my time in the hospital, which costs me more money, but guess what? It's cheaper than rehab. And it's cheaper than a relapse. And so I will extend my time in the hospital just to make sure that it's all above board, and everybody that treats me knows the score. And so if I try to convince the nurses at 3 a.m., I really need some morphine, like I'm dying, because my addiction wants to play at night, they're all on the same page, and they'll say, yeah. Luckily, I haven't done that, but, I don't want to trust and rely on myself, because that's exactly where I've gotten in trouble all my life in my addiction, is just relying on self-will. So the last surgery was successful because I came home, and when I came home, I didn't have to continue the regimen they had me on in the hospital. And I just share that piece with you because I think it's one thing to tell you guys about past experiences I've had with some of the nuances of being a person with this disorder in recovery. But it's also, I think, something different when I'm actually in the fire, like I'm in the pain right now, and I'm monitoring my mindset, and I'm telling on myself to you guys, like, this is one way I'm being held accountable, is to tell you, like, you guys, I am going through this. This is how I've navigated it in the past. I might be going through it again. I don't know. Because if I do go through it, like, I've already told you about it. And so I can't really like sneak through it, or my disease, my ego can't, like, the cunning, baffling, powerful, insidious part of this disorder that I have doesn't grow, because we're as sick as our secrets, and I don't want to live in secret. And this disease dies in the daylight, which means I got to be vulnerable and real with you guys, and any prayers would be appreciated, but please don't I don't want to I guess, react about this. Like I'm all good. I'm planning on going skiing on Saturday with my twins, even on this bum knee. So on the bunny hill, I know Jennifer's like, no, you're not. Some of you moms are like, no, you're not, Jason. But it's really not that bad. We'll find out. We'll see what the doc says tomorrow. But anyway, so that's a long intro to what I've been up to. But hey, at least you kind of know where I've been the last few weeks. And want to thank all of you who have expressed your takeaways from the book on Amazon and on Audible. I can't tell you how impactful that is to new readers that are seeking. So thank you. Thank you for your willingness to just put your name out there and say that this has been beneficial. And I hope you never feel like I put you up to that as far as like a disingenuous marketing ploy, but just more of just letting you know that like that's one way you guys are able to carry the message to others. And as you know, I think you all know, but if you don't, let me reiterate it, that every single sale of Unhooked, which I just got a check yesterday from my publisher, that check automatically rolls into the account that I'm buying more books and giving them away to. It's almost like exactly the same amount, giving them away to providers, to parents, to clients, to treatment centers. I have no desire to make a dime off these books. I just want it to live on, and I want it to help people. And I want more and more people to gather in this coaching call so that we can kind of navigate this stuff together. And I don't claim to have all the answers, and I don't claim to know how to help like an addicted 22-year-old like Jennifer does. As far as, you know, my own child, I know how to help an addicted 22-year-old cousin who detoxed on my couch while she was 5 months pregnant, and now she's over 3 years sober, and her child is healthy and happy, and she's married. Like I know how that is, but you know, there are nuances to this thing. And so I like to follow the counsel of my sponsor, who said, Jason, never share outside of your experience. And so I'm going to try to keep it there. But coming back to Jennifer, I would love to hear, today's going to be kind of like a, you know, coming back, a reintegration of me into this coaching call, because you guys have been doing such a fine job without me. I would love to hear some of the takeaways from you guys on the call last week with Jennifer, or the week before. And Jennifer, let me give you a minute or two to just kind of lead out on, for those that haven't been with us for the last couple of weeks, maybe you can just give a quick summary of what you guys touched on to help recall those things before I call on a few people. And I know you guys rolled with resistance, but you also got real vulnerable, from my understanding. Like you were in some mama heart stuff. And anyway.
Well, first, I'm so glad you're back. This group is amazing, and you just add to that. So I'm glad that you're back. We went over, I think, some really valuable things from the book in the last couple of weeks, some really important principles like rolling with resistance and how to deal with what's confrontation, or what's the other. Anyway, you guys know what I'm talking about. So really how we deal with our addict, I think about that horse again, right? That we've watched a couple of times, how, and the visual that I have about how to try to get a horse into a horse trailer without sitting behind it, pushing it while it's kicking you in the face. So that's my visual, right? Like, how do we roll with the resistance and help our addict go through the stages of change on their own? But you're right. Last week I started out this call with the full disclosure that I was going through it with my own 22-year-old son. And I also asked for prayer as we left, that I was headed down to Salt Lake last weekend for his birthday. And that I asked for prayer that this mama would not get into rescue mode. So I would like to just report really quickly about where I am. On our way down to Salt Lake City last week, my son called me and said, "Mom, I'm checking myself back into inpatient." He did that on his own. So, these principles work. I allowed him to sit in his discomfort, and I allowed him to sit in his reality, and he came to that decision on his own. So there was no resentment. There was no pushback. There was no, I'm doing this because somebody told me I had to do it. My son, we spent the weekend together. We were there as a family. I can report my children argued, which, if any of you have heard me talk, is one of the most joyful things in my world right now, is listening to them argue, because both of them are invested in the relationship, and that hasn't always been the case. They argued. We left, and he drove himself to inpatient on Monday morning. Has called me several times since then and said to me, "I need the structure." And I'm like, my question for you is, how do you provide yourself that structure when you're not an inpatient? Because every time he's in an inpatient facility, he says, "This is exactly what I need. I need to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I need to have groups to go to. I need the structure." So my continued question to him is, how do you create that for yourself when you're not in that inpatient facility? So more than anything, I think any of you that have had a child that's been in an inpatient facility, there is this sense of peace while he's there, because I don't have to worry about him. I don't have to worry that he's not high. I don't have to worry that he's making poor decisions. I don't even necessarily have to worry that his mental health is off the rails, because it's something that's constantly being monitored while he's there. So I'm going to enjoy this piece. He's probably going to be there for only 2 weeks this time, as just sort of a reset, and to make sure that he can get off of what he was using. And I'm going to enjoy those 2 weeks of being able to feel some peace in that time. But really what I wanted to report today is that these principles work. And they work for me in the sense that there's that moment of pain and that moment of suffering that I even came to this group with last week. That struggle, that, having your child feel pain and then watching him be able to walk through it on his own. One of the things that Jason talked about a couple of weeks ago that was been really impactful to me is the learned helplessness. He was talking about Indy, right? His little baby girl. And I'm thinking about my grown adults and how I have created a learned helplessness in them. And I can't go back and change the past, but I can change today. And today I'm doing my best to not provide them learned helplessness. And right now in this moment, the principles are working. And so that's really what I just wanted to share today as we sort of go back and walk through what we've gone through the last couple of months and fill Jason in, is that these principles work.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. You are gold, absolute gold. So thank you. Okay, I'm going to pick on a couple people. Who, first of all, was not here last week? Okay, I won't pick on you guys. But let's start with Shawna. Can I pick on you and just ask you, what has been a takeaway over the last week or two that you have been on this call?
Oh my gosh, can you hear me? So I'm the newbie of the group, and I can't even tell you what all I've used. And this last week, I have a child that's in Texas with his girlfriend that went down there to start a new life, and they fell into their addiction, started using heroin, started mixing it with cocaine. They've been down there for 6 weeks. I literally saw him on video for the first time in a couple weeks, and it literally brought me to my knees. Like he just looks like he's dying. He's been in the hospital down there and had seizures, and I guess they treated him very poorly. You know how that goes. And so he took off all of his stuff and left. And I've just been talking to him with empathy, like as the book shows, but drawing boundaries for myself. I'm so proud of myself. I know this is a small thing, but like I haven't given him any cash in 4 weeks since I've been reading the book. And it's huge. And I've just doing that dance with him. And as you're sitting here speaking today, Devin is like that horse in that arena. And he's coming home. He's on his way back home, and he wants to go to treatment. He's never asked for that. And I'm just like, I love you. I'm concerned. You're going to die if you can't get some help for yourself. And I'm here, but you can't live with me, Devin. But if you want to get into treatment, like I will work with you to get into treatment. So he's driving here. He actually called to get on health and welfare, to get on Medicaid. I've been speaking with some people from your facility. He's going to have to medically detox. He's in a really bad spot. But I've just tried to keep myself calm. I worked out 3 times this week. I'm drinking my protein shake. I am taking my life back and getting off the beach. And I know those are small things, but I'm literally so proud of myself today. Yeah. And he's coming back.
Shawna,
And I'm
can I say that's the opposite of small things.
I
Those
know.
are like ginormous successes. And as you walk through the early stages of this, those small successes are what's going to carry. You're going to look back a year from now and see that your big successes started and were the foundation from your small successes. And so don't underestimate or make smaller those steps that you're experiencing right now.
Okay. Yeah, I'm reading this. My daughter is 21 and she's going to school at Boise State, and she's just a great kid. She's going to be a physician's assistant, and she just adores Devin too. Like, we love him so much. He's our whole world. And she's reading, I just looked at the book and she's on page 145. She's addicted to it. Like she said, I'm hooked. And she's reading the book as well, so we can be prepared, and be able to help Devin more, like help himself. And just coming from him, like, because it's so hard, you just want to go, what the F are you doing? Like, you need to do this and that and this. And for 4 weeks, we've always, like, he tells me everything, and I wish sometimes he wouldn't, because it's terrifying. We talked about that, but I'm really the only person that can tell everything to. He doesn't want to do that to his sister, but I've just been felt so much better and strong. And even when I saw him like on FaceTime, I just was horrified, but I just kept myself calm. And I'm like, this is his journey. I've got to prepare, and I have his daughter. She's 3. I have guardianship of her. It took me a year to get her, but I've got her, and he's hanging on like you are, Jason. Like, she's everything to him. And I just pray, and I just use what you've taught me from the book. And you guys, I'm just grateful. Seriously, very grateful. Yeah, I'm off the beach. I'm kind of got a toe on every once in a while, and I'm like, what are you doing? But yeah, I've never said he can't live with me, but I'm just setting those boundaries, and he's coming back to go into treatment. He says it's what he wants, and I'm happy, because he's not going to make it much longer, honestly. But I did buy him a meal on the way back, but he had to go pick it up. I paid for it. So
I
I'm proud.
love it.
I'm grateful. I'm so grateful. Trying to run a business. I just started a new business and I'm trying to raise a toddler and take her to gymnastics and swim. And I'm trying to keep myself above water. And I've just been, I actually ran the other day. Like, I feel like I'm coming back. Like, yeah.
I love it. I think you are living a chapter of the book you will write someday to help women.
I pray. That's what I did this business for. And I'm helping kids and babies and women and anybody that I can get to read this book. I mean, it's literally something I've been waiting for, I feel like, but maybe I wasn't ready for. Maybe my ego was there too. And like just dropping that and just me saying like, I need help too. Like I'm sick too. I was always felt like, oh, I didn't need a group. Like didn't want people to know I was, that I would ask for help or that I needed this. But like, I've even told friends that I've been terrified, like my son's sick and this is what's wrong with him. Not being embarrassed of it, and that's been really good for me too. And Jaden too, with her good friends, like, we're just not going to hide it anymore. We don't need to. He's sick. And, it's just been very freeing to do what we're doing right now. So thank you.
I love it. Thank you. You guys, can you pick out any of the principles that we've gone over the last few weeks and the practical application of them that Shawna just talked about? And some of those, as a reminder, are trust, rapport. That's the goal, right? Is that we want to foster that. And how do you do that? Well, that's through creating the spirit of MI, as we talked about, or motivational interviewing. And how do you do that? That's with empathy. That's by being in feeling with someone. But fostering that is just as a reminder, collaboration versus confrontation. How easy would it have been for Shawna to start talking about how nervous she was about how he looked on video, and just start going there and being like, are you eating? Are you taking care of yourself? You look like, you know what I mean? Like, that could have easily been the conversation because that's where your head was.
Yeah, it just brought me to my knees when I saw him, but I couldn't let him see that. And I just said, I love you. I'm so sorry you're hurting so deeply. And he is hurting very deeply over his dad that left and just some things that happened and going to prison for 4 years. Yeah. The residue on a spoon, and that he's headed back there. And I just said, I'm just so sorry, Devin. I'm so sorry that you're hurting. I'm so sorry that, I can't comfort you. I can talk to you, but like, I want to just wring his neck, literally. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you want to break the horse.
Here we are again, but like, he's circling and we're dancing, and like, he's coming closer to me and closer. And he's not in Texas anymore. He's closer and he's coming back, and he's going to detox and turn himself in and do the right thing. That's what he's going to do, because he wants a life with his daughter, and he loves and misses his sister and I so much.
Yes.
And so he's coming back. He should be back in a couple of days, but he's gone off the beaten path. But I'm just like, not saying, where the hell are you? Like, what? I'm just letting him get closer and closer, and he's coming. So.
Yeah. And you remember the contemplation and preparation stages of change is there's a lot of change talk.
Right.
But we may not see the change as sustainable change until they're in action. But knowing, okay, they're in contemplation, they're in preparation.
Yeah, he knows he wrecked his car while he was down there. Yeah. He knows he has no place to live, no car, no job, and that his only option is to get into treatment or to go back. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm sure he'll end up going back, but I've left him no resources.
Instead, what I think you can know what will happen is you're going to keep drinking your protein shake, and you're going to keep going on runs, and you're going to keep working on your business. You're going to keep rising up as a strong woman, so that you are prepared for whatever comes your way over there. You guys, I want to just go back to that question of, what are some of these tools that we've been, or not tools, but principles that we've been talking about the last few weeks or the last month that apply here. So collaboration versus confrontation, individuality versus authority, imposing ideas versus drawing out ideas, internal motivation versus external motivation, self-efficacy, which is the confidence within themselves that they can overcome or that they can take these steps on their own, rolling with resistance, right? These principles are significant, and they're super important, because when you can see them in application, then you see it all come together. So it's not like you're following a textbook. It's more of like this overarching approach that's genuine, that's out of love, it's out of boundaried love, so that you're not in the undertow and in, where you're on the beach just taking all the brunt of the waves, but you're on higher ground and you got that emotional raincoat on, and maybe you got some goggles on so that the ocean spray doesn't blind you. I'd like to ask you, what of those principles resonated with you, that you saw in application with Shawna's experience? Connie, did you raise your hand there? I couldn't tell. Or were you just?
I didn't, but I can contribute.
Yeah, thanks.
That's really encouraging, Shawna, to hear that. I think when the instead of being the authority and imposing that, when you just said that, Jason, that's what I noticed a lot. You just let him be who he is, an individual, and he's making his choices now. And it sounds like he's making them for himself. Like, and empathy, definitely heard that. See that independence, or like individuality, self-efficacy. I mean, just getting himself back here, out of the hospital and back here, he's figuring it out. And that's, you're not, imposing it on him, it sounds like. So that was a lot. It was really encouraging. It reminds me, because when you're not in crisis at that moment, it's I guess that's when we should practice these the most. These skills. So I'm just really, that's awesome. You were able to draw on all that. And
it's been a long 6 weeks.
Everybody.
But thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm grateful.
Thank you, Connie. Let's see, anyone else? Takeaways from an application of what we've been learning in this particular scenario in Shawna's life.
I can speak. We're kind of at a crossroad with Tyler now. We had a month of him being in residential, and we were relaxed with that. He's out of there, and he's in a home in the area. He's up around Seattle, and this is going to be the real test. The changes and how he goes from there. They have a great system of houses up there. It's called Oxford House. If you're ever looking for an opportunity for an addicted loved one that needs a place to turn their life around. These just look it up. Oxford House is amazing. I mean, they've got them all over the country. There's 350 of them up in Northwest Washington, and they're a whole different model. I won't go into the details, but Tyler's out and he's in there now, and that's going to be the test for him. A lot of things he's going to have to take care of for himself. We're trying to, and I think we're doing a pretty good job of leaving it to him to make his decisions and take care of the things he needs to. He doesn't have his car, which our plan is that when he's been sober and working and can pay for his own insurance and get his own insurance, then we'll talk about getting that back. But he found a little loophole, and the guy that was at residential with him had a car and said he'd loan it to him. It almost sounds like it was an indefinite loan, and it's got some mechanical problems, fortunately, because we're not real comfortable with him driving someone else's car. We don't know if it's insured or anything else. So that's a little bit of a test. I was honest with him, saying, well, that's not a good idea. That's probably risky. I couldn't just let it go. It's not one of those things where you can learn the hard way. But when he called yesterday, called me, and I'm trying to remember. It wasn't any. We talked about the car and everything else. Connie's in the bedroom across the hall from me, and after we were done talking, he had to go because he had an online Bible study that he was set up. And I went through the door into her room, and she just had that look on her face that what's wrong, is it going off the rails, so we're really in that scary transition period now. Anyway.
Yeah, that was a knee-jerk reaction, like, what happened, what's wrong? But then stopped, and he said nothing. But yeah, he's I'll make this quick because he was talking for a while. But yeah, he got on food stamps. He got a bus pass for free through that. He's getting Medicaid. He's joined a Bible study. He took the bus to a church by himself on Sunday. I don't know. I mean, those are just signs that he's wanting to, tools. In this house, it's 8 sober guys. And if you use, you're out in 5 minutes. So they're accountable. So those are all good things to report. But I just have to keep letting go and trusting the process.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing. Is there anyone else who would like to share on an application of these principles that we've been reviewing over the last few weeks? And it can be related to either of these examples of Connie, Doug, or Shawna, or your own. I'll just wait. Okay, Bonnie, I believe you raised your hand. Did you go? Yeah, there you are, Bonnie Chadburn, LGBT 50.
Yeah.
I'm not
excuse
sure.
Excuse me, Jason, but I have to jump off. The call here. So.
Okay, thanks, Doug.
Thank you. All right. Bye.
Bye. Go ahead, Bonnie.
On Shawna, I just really appreciate how she shared how she's taking care of herself. And I think as mothers, it's easy to get, so focused on our children and what's going on with their lives that sometimes we forget to take care of ourselves. And, I've been through that and have found out that does not work. It doesn't help when the Calvary has to be sent in to help take care of me because I'm not taking care of myself. So I thought that was super powerful. I also was going to share that this story that Jennifer used last, or is it, let's see, the one about the gorilla in the not getting its food anymore from the zookeeper. That really was effective for me this last week. We have one of our daughters that was under high suspicion that the one that she's been dating, it looked like there's some addiction involved. Some things were just not, there was some red flags, and that all kind of came to the surface in the last couple of days. And, you know, I just was able to prepare her, you know, things are going to kind of hit the fan here for the next for the next 24 hours. And we just have sent, you know, going back to the drawing out information. It's been a lot of listening, and a lot of prayers and a lot of tears, and just praying for her to have the strength to get through what needed to happen, so that, you know, both of them can be healthy. So, and, you know, they choose to get on that path of health. But I just wanted to say, appreciate this group, and you're also courageous and strong, and send you lots of love and prayers.
Thank you so much. There is a request to share the gorilla story to those that weren't on last week.
So the story is this. So if you think about a gorilla in the zoo, right? And a zookeeper comes every morning and provides the gorilla with their food and a substance that's in their food. So let's say they're getting, you know, something in their food every day, right? And so the gorilla keeper every day at 10 o'clock walks into the gorilla's cage and gives them the food. On the day that the gorilla stops giving them their food, if you can imagine the reaction of the gorilla in the cage, right? The gorilla is going to become really high anxiety, stressed, angry. And so as long as the zookeeper then goes back in the cage and feeds that gorilla, it's going to calm back down, which is very similar to when we're trying to walk through and get off the beach with an addict, right? They are used to us giving them money, giving them a space to live, giving them whatever they need in order to keep them at a level where they're not going to react. The problem is that there's no way for us to get off the beach under those circumstances. So the truth is, you can expect with almost all certainty that when we start applying these principles in our addicts' life, that they are going to freak out. They are not getting their food every single day at 10 o'clock. And as natural and chemical as it is to that gorilla in their cage, it is exactly as chemical and biological as it is to us as addicts when we no longer can be fed at 10 o'clock every single day. So you have to know going in that there is going to be a period of absolutely that addict losing their mind, because they're counting on the fact that if they can react in a way that will make you super uncomfortable, that you will feed them. And that is all their brain is telling them, is that they need food. So the more they overreact, the more they freak out, the more they tell you they're going to kill themselves, the more they do everything to escalate, they are certain that that's going to get you to feed them.
You know, I really appreciate that you brought up that reaction, because I see the suicide card be played a lot in that context. And it's hard to know, like, if they're serious or if this is, you know, the gorilla just trying to get fed, because that's a trump card. You know what I mean? That's a card that this day and age, we see it often. Like, if you don't do this, then I'm gonna kill myself. Of course, it usually is couched in a lot more emotion there, but that's where I would say, you know, the follow-up question to that is, well, Jason and Jen, how do you know if it's manipulation or if it's real. And that is where I point you to your higher power. That is where I point you to the source that can actually answer that question, because I don't know. And I'm not even going to pretend to know if that is real or manipulation. But you, as their loved one, are entitled to that personal revelation and that personal inspiration as you ask God for help to know how to navigate that. The key is that you are in a space of faith, off the beach, with an emotional raincoat on, so that you have an objective mindset rather than fear, anxiety, codependency, and I guess in a rescuing, enabling space, because it's going to be easier for you to just jump to the rescue, not necessarily to prevent him from killing himself or herself, but to prevent your fear of the possibility of them carrying that out, because that might be your worst case scenario. So that's where I point you to the spiritual solution in this whole thing. You guys, what a cool call this has been. I know Shawna had to bow out. What beautiful words from Connie, from Bonnie, LGV50. That's your new nickname, Bonnie. I love it. Jennifer, thank you. It's so good to see your faces, you guys, and I am excited about next week. Feel free to reach out to any of the folks that you know that could benefit from this. I will make this link available so that you guys can refer back to this and share it with those that might struggle. Any
Jason?
Comments or burning desires? Yes, Michael.
Yeah, can you actually put the last 2 weeks up too? Because my wife can't watch during the day, and it'd be nice. We usually go home and watch them. So if we could have the last couple weeks put up.
That's my fault, Michael. I haven't.
No problem.
I will get it. I will get it. Yeah.
No problem. I appreciate it.
Hey, Jen, do you have the recordings?
The last 2 weeks are on my computer. Yes.
Oh, great. Okay. Sweet. I was just going to say, Michael, I don't think we have those files, but Jen sounds like he has them.
Yeah, awesome.
Sweet. Yeah, we'll make those available. Jen, you can just send them to me and then I'll upload them to our Brickhouse Recovery TV YouTube page. You guys, Amy, real quick before we roll out, I would like to just check in, sister. What are you thinking, feeling?
Well, first of all, I feel for you with my ice pack, because I got off the beach and moved to Boise and left my daughter in Texas and had a nice bogus ski accident and had surgery. So I feel for you. But yeah, it's just been so helpful. All of it, really. The book, this class, this group, listening to other stories. It was really hard to hear Jennifer last week. I think you want to believe that it's more of a sprint, and you see that she's got a lot of the tools and gets it a lot better than I do, and the struggle, but it's good to see that it works when you do it. I think I've stopped wrestling with my daughter. She's in Texas, kind of at a program there. And I've really stopped I haven't told her what to do. I mean, I've really the last month, I've kind of just tried to listen, and she is coming here to Boise. The plan is for her to come I think around the 13th of March. And I think she's contacted you guys herself, Brickhouse. I think she interviewed with somebody last week in your program or spoke to somebody. And I think she's actually trying to get a sponsor, and she's been wanting to have a sponsor here in Idaho since she'll be here. And so I think she contacted somebody again yesterday about that, but she's kind of doing that all on her own. So she's going to go to Sober Living when she comes here as well. So she filled out the information for that herself. She's got a spot opening. So it seems like things are but it has been her choice. It's a little fearful, right? Because I do have the fear of, she doesn't know anybody here, and she screws up, how that's going to look, because I know it's not an easy road. But I'm going to stay off the beach and support her when she's working the program.
Congratulations. What I pick up on is that she's developing self-efficacy. You're supporting self-efficacy by having her, individuality versus authority. You could have said the very words, okay, I need you to come to Boise. You're going to get into sober living, and you're going to apply for treatment, and you're going to interview, and then you're managing all that. The outcome of that most likely would have been resistance. And don't tell me what I should do, Mom, because it's not my idea. You're making it about you, not her. And what you've done is you have allowed individuality versus authority, and you have fostered drawing out ideas versus imposing ideas. And she's doing the very thing that you would have, a couple of weeks ago when we were on a call and you were emotional, these actions you would have seen as a miracle if she would just take them, right?
Right.
And she's taking them on her own volition. You see how that works, you guys? You see how just rolling back and seeing how it works? You're manifesting the very things that you have been hoping for. The difference is the approach that you're taking. Now, it could have gone the other way, and it still might. If she's in contemplation, you might have years of chronic contemplation, of slide backs, of ambivalence, of pain, of consequences. However, the whole idea is that you stay off the beach and be able to just identify where she's at in the stages of change and meet her where she's at and love her unconditionally, all the while developing yourself and practicing these principles, not just with her, but what's cool is this will bless all of your relationships. I practice these the best I can with my employees, with my wife, with my friends. So these principles don't just apply here. Nanette Johnson, the powerhouse. I'm sorry, I don't mean to put you on a pedestal. I just have known you for so long and just have the utmost respect for you and your husband. What are you feeling? What are your thoughts?
Well, I've really enjoyed listening the last few weeks. It's reminded me of where we've been and where we are now, because when you're in the thick of it, it's awful. And it's been a good reminder for me, and you're all in my prayers, and my heart goes out to you. But know that if you keep doing these things, it will get better. It will get better. And if anything, even if your loved one doesn't heal, you can. You can continue to work on yourself. You can continue to be in recovery yourself and work on your codependency. It's something that it was a good reminder for me, all the things that I needed to be doing again. And it's still a work in progress. As I've said, I'm still working on changing my language and things that I say when I talk to my sons and talk to my family, because those are things that you grow up with. I mean, that's how my mother taught in my home, and I did the same thing in my home. So there's things that get ingrained within you that you're kind of the old saying, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks, but you have to learn new tricks and new things. But if you keep applying these principles, it will help and your life will get better.
Thank you. Big
Jason,
John.
Jason,
I was gonna have her turn the camera to see your beautiful face. I mean, I want to see the beauty in this. There you are.
I want to say that I'm still very codependent, and your opening about your injury has got you on my codependency watch list. So I might be checking in with you now, because now I'm just worried sick about you because I'm still sick. But thanks for all you do. And like my wife said, this is a reminder of how hard these things are. And man, I'm glad to have the support of you, your program, all these people that are going through similar things as we are. I don't know. I just always feel better when I get off these calls for a few minutes, right? But no, thanks again. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. I don't know what's going on here.
You're good. Hey, thank you, brother. I sure love you. I do. We all do. And thank you, Nanette. I would love to just check in, and I wish we could just keep on going. But Maureen, so good to see your face. And I know we've been emailing back and forth a little bit, but just wanted to check in before we wrap this up. And we're going to go to Jennifer last. What are you feeling? What are your thoughts?
Oh, it's really is good to listen to the calls, because I think we've been doing it all wrong for a long time. Our daughter's just had she's had an addiction for about 20 years. And but the last couple of years have been really hard, and the last 8 months have been really, really hard. And so it was a comfort when she came out of Intermountain here in Boise, and one of the counselors there gave me your book, Jason, and it was such a blessing. And she went back to drinking within 24 hours, and lost her job and her kids and her car and her house, and so it's hard to know where the boundaries are. Right? That's what I struggle with most, is when is it helping and when is it hurting? And one of the things your mom, I heard her on a call earlier this, I guess it would have been spring, but she said about one of the things that she recognized was that by not letting you fall, she was just keeping you in limbo hell. And it was very powerful for me, because I think that's what we've been doing all this time, is providing that, gosh golly, you got to just stop it. This is the time. And then we save her one more time. And so currently she's, I don't know where, she texted yesterday and said she knows this is her responsibility. My father just passed away, so we've been dealing with that hospice, but she was too impaired to come to the funeral. And it really was tough last Saturday, because she wasn't there. She was supposed to read at the service and called and said, I can't come. So, we're just right in the throes of it right now. So I don't know where she is. She was in a sober living structure. Her dad bought her house because it was being foreclosed, found a sober roommate and said, you can't be drinking. And then when she started drinking, he said, you got to go. So he had to turn her out, which has been real hard too. And we're not sure where she went. So it's so good to hear that other people are going through it, and successfully, because it is tough. I'm grateful for your work, Jason. I am.
Thank you so much for sharing. And on behalf of all of us, our condolences and our prayers. We are so sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Um,
He was a great dad and a great grandfather.
well, let's all pray for our sister's healing during this time as you could go through and navigate a lot of new territory and new terrain. And if there's anything that we can do at
Thank
all,
you.
don't hesitate to reach out. There are a lot of people in this group that would be happy to be sounding boards or to be accountability partners or anything. So if you want to connect with them, feel free to maybe in the chat, just drop your email address.
Okay.
People can reach out to you and offer help.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Something that's on my heart right this
Please.
second.
Yes, I was going to come to you next.
When I got sober, there were people around me that I call my tribe, and they are the people that I continue to get sober with every day. They're the people that when I'm sitting in a circle with other people, I don't have to describe to them what my shame feels like because they know it. I don't have to convince them how much I hated myself because they already know what that feels like. I don't have to explain to them how difficult it is to be addicted to a substance. Those people are my tribe. And what I would like to say is that the people in this call are also our tribe. We don't have to describe to them how much shame there is having a loved one that's an addict. We don't have to describe to them the sleepless nights when you feel so out of control and there's nothing you can do about it. We don't have to explain to them what it feels like to have a child that can't come to your father's funeral because they're drunk. And so it's hard sometimes on a Zoom, right? We're all over the country and we're all in different places. But the truth is that we need to be really intentional about finding our people, because it is the only way that I've gotten sober. And it's the only way that you can also be in recovery from this thing called having a loved one that's an addict. And so when Maureen was talking today, it just seems so pertinent to me that in a time of Zoom and in a time when we're not face-to-face connecting, that we really reach out and we really connect outside of this group and outside of meeting with each other once a week. Because I've said it before and I'm going to say it again. I can't do this by myself. I absolutely 100% cannot deal with my son's addiction by myself. I need groups like this. I need people like you and I that know what this feels like. And so I would really like to take an opportunity today before we get off on the chat to put a phone number or to put an email address or put something where we can be really intentional about creating this tribe and not having to do this by ourselves.
I love that. Thank you, Jennifer. And I second that. And you guys, we have an exclusive private Facebook group for those that are in this category. And, you know, it's by invitation only. And I would just love for you guys to reach out to me or Jennifer so that we can invite you in. Okay. I'm not going to put all the details on this because it's being recorded, but you know, those of you that are on here and that have been with us today, I'd really like to invite you in. And in there, I would love updates. I mean, I think Scott Baldwin and I can speak to, like, it's a little dormant in that group, and there's a lot of help that we could offer in there. And so let's help each other. Let's give updates. You know, if there's an article or if there's something that has helped you, please share it with others. The idea is that you take what is working for you and you pass it along. And that will help your emotional sobriety more than anything. Okay. So Jennifer, thank you for really impressing on these side relationships and mentorships and support outside of these calls, because really we need it daily, not just once a week. We need sometimes hourly just to get through. So, and there are people in here, just to call a couple out there. Jennifer's one, Nanette's one, Scott's one, and more, that have walked this very path that you are currently in and can offer some suggestions. And maybe it's not suggestions to the solution, but maybe it's just saying, hey, all I know is this is what I tried and it didn't work. Like, that's helpful. You know what I mean? Like, just helping people avoid the same pitfalls. But at the very least, just having someone to listen and for you to externally process, because at the end of the day, I believe you have it within you to find answers and solution. I don't think the answers come from external sources. I think that external sources can be conduits to evoking your own solutions through individuality, your own self-efficacy, and your own ideas. And I hope to draw out your ideas instead of impose ideas. And if I can just be a guide, if we can all just be each other's guides, I mean, God is going to work through each of us to provide that insight. So as we wrap up, everybody good? Everybody buttoned up? Anybody?
I'm looking forward to Jennifer's first book.
Yes. Amen. I think she hopped off, but she'll probably watch this. Amen. And let's keep putting pressure on her, because that's her dream. I think she's going through the contemplation stage of change, and it's time that she get into preparation. So how about we break the horse and we just force her? No, but thank you guys. Appreciate it. Love you. Come find us in that Facebook book group. Reach out to us. And by the way, I'm going to leave the chat up a little bit longer because it looks like some phone numbers were put on here. Please open up the chat, copy and paste these to a Word document. I think that would be beneficial. Thank you guys. I think that's awesome. And if the rest,
thank you.
You're welcome. If you need to bow out, go ahead.